Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking some time to join us in this little bit of Aramaic study. The lesson today is a result of a question of one of our listeners, and they had asked if we could go to um, St. John chapter 1, verse 1. Very familiar verse. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And they had heard that the word translated as W-O-R-D in English may have a deeper meaning in the Aramaic. So, as a result of that question, we're going to take a deep dive into that. And what I want to do is for many of you who may be new to this type of study, um, I want to show you the site that I use, which is called Dukrana Biblical Research, and kind of walk you through the steps because the goal here for me or desire would be that you would learn how to do this on your own because it opens up such a fascinating treasure chest of study opportunities. And so you go to dukrana.com and then there's a number of links to click on here, but the one that I use is called Pashita Tool. You click on it, it opens up to a number of options. And from there, there's a pull down for uh, the different chapters and verses. So you would scroll down, and we are today going to John, St. John, and then you get an opportunity to refine how you want the words in their Aramaic spellings and characters to come out. So what I do is I click this first box to use the United Bible Society Peshitta text with options. I want to include the vowel signs. The Western vowel pointings are much easier for us as we get into this to understand. They're easier to recognize and to learn. Good place to learn is with the Western vowel pointings, and then later on go to the Eastern. The Eastern are a series of dots in different groupings and a little bit more difficult where the Western has characters that are somewhat based off a Greek um, alphabet. So, and then because I learned Hebrew first and much more familiar with the Hebrew characters, I click a parallel version of having the Hebrew with it. I pick a font which is the Estrangolo from S Edessa. I'm going to increase the size a little bit to 225% just so that it is a little bit easier to read. You have a choice of different translations. These Etheridge, Murdoch, Lamsa are all famous, somewhat Syriac scholars. Let's, for fun, just pick George Lamsa's translation today. Then you scroll down into where it says load verses. So once you do that, they come up at the bottom of your screen, and there you can see on the on the right side, it says John 1:1. Um, just a reminder that Hebrew and Aramaic read from the right to the left. And so, looking at the characters here, the Hebrew characters, but here is the Syriac characters, Aramaic characters. It's the same letters, pronunciation is the same, just two different font styles, if you will, on learning. So, John 1:1 in the Aramaic would be Bereshit, um, Idav, Hav, MILTHA, Vehu, MILTHA, Itav, Hav, Lava, Alaha, Va'alaha, Itahu, Hu, or excuse me, Hav, Hu, Mela. So the word we want to look at is this word for word. And of course, unless you are learned in the characters, you wouldn't quite know which one to go to, but that's where this button called Analyze comes in. There's also, you can see as I hover above this in the um, Aramaic script, um, it doesn't work over the Hebrew letters, but it does over the Aramaic, that you hover above it and it gives you an ID number, it gives you the root number, and it helps you to look at it this way. You'll see what I'm hovering over right now is the MILTHA, and it gives you a phonetic of the MELTA, and it gives you the root of the mem and the lamed. And so that is where our study is going to take us. So we're going to go to the Analyze button. We'll open up this page here, and this is where we really get to places where we can and do our study in a deeper way. And you'll see here it automatically puts the Etheridge, Murdoch, Lamsa, and the King James Version translations so that you can compare. And this is interesting to see how these authors, translators went through this. You see Etheridge in the beginning was the MILTHA, and the word himself was with Aloha, which is the Aramaic word for Elohim or God, translated into God, and was the word himself. So slightly different from the King James. Then the Murdoch says in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God, identical with the King James. And Lamsa would say the word was in the beginning, and that very word was with God, and God was that word. So again, slightly different constructions of that sentence that creates slightly different meanings. So we're not unpacking the whole verse today, but we want to unpack the word for melta that is listed here as word, case, matter, cause. And what we learn is that both Hebrew and the Aramaic have very few words to them. About 7,500 in the Hebrew, maybe similar in the Aramaic, but words have numerous meanings, whereas in English, we have millions of words, and so the designation of the word can become very precise in English, um, so that when you say something, it can only have a limited meaning, not the case in the Hebrew. And it becomes very concerning sometimes, or sometimes frustrating if you're a Bible translator to know, what does this word mean? For us today, we look at it maybe on the opposite side of the spectrum, that this is somewhat of a challenging, in an interesting way, because it gives us a way to say, okay, I'm doing this for my personal benefit. I'm doing this for personal growth and gaining in my relationship with God to grow closer to Him. So when Jesus spoke these words, when the writer spoke these words, when John spoke these words or penned them, and they were received at the churches to believers from that time frame, what might they have thought? Maybe their understanding was different than ours is today, 2,000 years removed, and influenced by other cultures, influenced by other religious systems, influenced by previous printings, that once something's printed, people are not so willing to change it when people have accepted it. And so in this case of this word that we're looking at, it can have numerous meanings. And so the translators had the actual WORD. They could have put case down. They could have put cause. They could have put matter. And that's where we take off on our study today, to look at some of these other dictionaries. First of all, we just want to go to AI, artificial intelligence, not something to be afraid of. It's a wonderful tool that searches all of the papers that are out there. And I like using AI searches that give me substance to validate. They'll give me a place where it came from. Like here, it comes from this organization, this scientific and research area. So I know where it's coming from. The sources are listed, I guess. So here it says in Aramaic, and again, the pronunciations can be different depending upon the dialect, depending upon the usage. So here it says MILTHA or MILTHA. You'll saw another place it was MILTO. We're looking for the root letters and the meaning of the word and not getting too distracted by the different pronunciations of the different dialects. So here it says it normally translates to the word, but its exact theological and linguistic meaning is much deeper, often denoting a profound manifestation, a continuous divine conversation, or substance of thought and speech. Again, how do you translate that into an English word to keep your Bibles from not having 1,000 pages to them and condensing it? So that's the struggle of the translator, but it opens up just a wonderful opportunity of a treasure chest for us to look at here. And so think about it in manifestation. Think about it in a word of a force. You know, in the beginning was the manifestation, or in the beginning was the force, or in the beginning was the substance. And so that's very, very interesting. Another resource I go to is Marcus Jastro's dictionary of the Talmudim and the Talmud. And so here, this is a commentator who created this dictionary based upon the Jewish writings that existed at the time of Jesus. So while it may not be completely perfect, it does give us a little bit of a time capsule to look into what they may have understood at that time. So here is the Ashuri script or Hebrew script letter of the Mem Lamed. It has a vowel pointing of the Hirik, which would give it I sound, and the comets, which would give it an A sound, or Milah. So here Marcus Jastro's defined it as a word or a command or a thing or an object or a affair or a subject. And then he goes through numerous places where this is used. But one of the beauties here of the Semitic languages is that unlike English, where words aren't related by their spelling, in Hebrew and Aramaic, words can be related by adding a letter, subtracting a letter, changing the order of the letters slightly. So they show up together in this lexicon dictionary and they would have related meanings. So as we scroll down, we see a related meaning here, another entry for word or thing, but the word for circumcision is also pronounced milah, has slightly different, has the yod and the he ending, but it has the exact same pronunciation, which caused me a little bit of just interest here. But remembering that circumcision, while we may think of it in the physical act, it's really a covenant. And so here we see it's a seal of a covenant. It was the covenant between God and Abraham. So what if we inserted that in John chapter 1, verse 1? In the beginning was the covenant. Obviously, that existed in the mind of God, that he had a covenant with us. And so here's where you can see this is just such a fun, enriching way of study. Also, here is milut, which is the word for saving or delivery, being very close to meaning and tied in with that. And of course, that is God's plan and purpose, is to save and deliver. It's also filled in with here's mili for filling or drawing water. Another word for mili with it, which is speech. And then here is milu sa, which is space. So all of these help enrich the understanding of the essence and nature of God that he's filling. We know he spoke and the speech was involved, but he is undefined by space or area. He fills the universe, he fills the space, he fills the area, and he desires to save. I'm going to look at one more source, and this is one that I put together for myself for my own personal study, and just see if there's anything new. Basically, has all the things I just mentioned to you. And this source that I copied here talks about the MILTHA being in the mind and the plan of God for salvation. And so And that ties in with John chapter 1, verse 3, where it says that everything existed by him and nothing exists which didn't come from him. And so just a lot of wonderful things. If you search on the internet, you'll definitely find lots of other thoughts too, but think of it as the manifestation, the instance, or the substance. So thank you for being a part of this study today. I hope you enjoyed it. Tried not to make it too long and too deep. And I pray God's blessing upon you as you desire to draw closer to him through his precious word that he's given us. All right, take care. Bye-bye.